Next up is AlzeCure with the CEO Martin Jönsson. And for the Q&A, we will be joined by Johan Sandin, CSO.
Correct.
Take it away.
Hello, everybody. My name is Martin Jönsson, and I'm the CEO of AlzeCure Pharma. AlzeCure, we focus on Alzheimer's and pain, and we are a spin-out out of AstraZeneca. And the reason we exist is actually that we really want to make a difference in Alzheimer's, and with the Alzheimer's Fund, this was made possible. We work very closely with Karolinska Institute, several different groups, and our collaboration is expanding. And we only work with small molecules. We want to develop drugs that are easy for both the patient and the society. And our lead project within Alzheimer's is Alzstatin, a preventive treatment against Alzheimer's disease. And then we have Neurology to help individuals improve learning and memory capabilities. And this is also an asset which has opportunities in depression. And then we have pain program as well. So in Neurology, we upregulate signaling, and in Painless, we downregulate signaling. And we are listed at Nasdaq, a market cap of around 300 million. Cash position as reported in Q2 on 12.6, and then we did a right issue of around 60. And this rights issue was oversubscribed with 212%. And thank you for all the investors who supported this. And then additionally, we have a grant that we received from the European Innovation Council, which should support a phase 2 study that we will touch upon. And our business model is to out-license our projects, so at the latest in phase 2. And our portfolio looks as following. So in Neurology, we have positive phase 1b data. And here we now are preparing for phase 2 and have received a grant from European Innovation Council. And the European Innovation Council has also communicated that they are interested in potentially investing in our company. And then we also have Alzstatin, a very fascinating program, which we have in preclinical phase, preparing for phase 1. And here we are competing with Roche, who has a readout in 2026, which is increasing the interest for this program. And then in Painless, we have ACD440. And here we have a positive readout in phase 2a in chronic patients with peripheral neuropathic pain. And here we have had positive interaction with the FDA. So the FDA has given us an orphan designation for erythromelalgia that we will speak about. And they have also endorsed a potential registration trial for this orphan indication. So we are very well positioned here. And this is a program we are focusing on out-licensing. And then we also have ACD137, a TrkA-NAM, blocking off NGF signaling. And here we are competing with AstraZeneca, who are in phase 2b. So also here we are well positioned, and we also believe we have a potential best in class here. And we couldn't have made this without great collaboration with leading academic scientists like Henrik Zetterberg. And then 1.5 years, we were also joined by Jan Lundberg, who used to be head of research at AstraZeneca and then was head of global research and development at Eli Lilly. So we are very happy to have Jan join the team. And in Alzheimer's, we are also very happy that our projects are validated by big pharma like Roche and Eisai. And in Alzstatin, where we want to see to it that you can prevent or delay Alzheimer's disease, we are focusing on that you should not create what you see on this slide, the plaque. So how do we do this? We focus on the protein that builds up in the brain and harms the brain. And we go in and minimize the production of this, and with that, also minimizing the production of the toxic species, including the plaque. And here we have already data that we can powerfully reduce the production of this toxic plaque and also increase the production of proteins that are protective. A fascinating thing that we have also published this year is actually data on GSM, which is also showing in this study plaque clearance. In a 28-day study, we saw a plaque clearance of around 30%. So not only minimizing the production of toxic proteins, but also potentially affecting existing plaques. And we have multiple patient groups that we could hopefully help. Patients who have Alzheimer's, and then in combination with the antibodies, and then ultimately helping patients who are showing sign of producing too much of this toxic protein, monitoring them by blood sample, and then also looking at their genetics. And we are now working towards to start phase 1. We are still in preclinical, but here our ambition is to start a phase 1, and in this study also have patients, so we can also get data that we can compare with Roche. And Roche have communicated that they will have an interim readout in 2026. They've already had a study going with their gamma secretase modulator for more than 15 months. And now in August, there was announced that the second study is now being started. So the GSMs now are showing promise. And we are well positioned here. So we have filed patent for this new molecule that we are going for, which we think is the best in class, with a patent to protection to 2045, and then with exclusivity. And we also have strategies so we can prolong it even further. And then in NeuroRestore, increasing learning and memory capabilities. Here we are preparing for phase 2. And here we are focusing on that there are neurotrophins in the brain which are key for brain health and also learning and memory capabilities. And we can show that we can upregulate the signaling of these neurotrophins in the brain. And we have been focusing on symptomatic treatment, but we have now also generated more and more data, which is actually showing that potentially we can also have a disease-modifying abilities. And here we have shown that we can improve the ability to learn, the ability to store what you have learned, and the ability to remember what you have learned and maybe have forgotten. And here we have positive phase 1 data showing that it's safe and tolerable, that it has a great PK profile for once daily, and also that it goes over the blood-brain barrier. And also that it affects centers in the brain which are key for learning and memory capabilities. So now we are preparing for phase 2, and we are very proud and happy that we have received a grant from the European Innovation Council that we received this year. And then in our painless platform, we have 2 projects. So osteoarthritis, the TrkA-NAM. Here we are second runner-up to ASICE project, and this is a huge unmet medical need. And then we also have in neuropathic pain, where we are in phase 2 with ACD440. And ACD440 builds on science that is well validated and has been rewarded the Nobel Prize in Medicine. And ACD440 is a project that was started at AstraZeneca as oral medication, showed really great pain relief, but it had some side effects. So we reformulated it into a gel. And we have now conducted 2 studies showing that we have an analgesic effect. And here we also have positive phase 2A data on proof of mechanism. And here, with regard to this, in the trial we did on chronic patients, we could show that just in a week, we could reduce evoked pain with around 50%. This is highly clinically relevant. And we also showed that we could identify the patients who would be responders or who are responders. And we also had a very good safety profile. It was well tolerated and looking great for further clinical development. So what's very great here is that we are now preparing for next trial. And with regard to this, we have been looking at orphan designations, and we actually see several potential orphan indications. What we have shown to focus on now here initially is erythromelalgia. And the FDA has given us an orphan designation for this indication. And very timely as well, we have received positive feedback from the FDA on a potential registration trial on this indication. So this is well lined up, and for ACD440, we are focusing on out-licensing. And erythromelalgia, what is it? It is a very painful disease where the pain is triggered by temperature. And here you see individuals with red areas, as you see on the slide, where they feel very, very strong pain. And today there are no effective treatment. And that's why we have got an orphan designation as well. It's about 13 individuals per 100,000. And rare, we think, is a great area to go. It can make it possible to go to market much, much quicker than if you went with a common indication. And then if you could add up additional orphan indications, you can get additional market exclusivity, about 7 years per indication. And so why AlzeCure? We would say that we are focused on helping people where we see a significant unmet medical need. We have a strong team who have developed what we have presented here. And we have platforms with true first-in-class properties. We are able to identify target, developing the molecules, and take them into clinical trials. And we have parallel investment with potent follow-up programs, so we are no one-trick pony. And all the indications we are working with have really blockbuster potential. And we have evolved from an idea company into a phase 2 company, which also have been validated by the European Innovation Council. So that is AlzeCure. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Martin.
Yes.
If we start with the Neurostore ACD856, you have initiated the procurement process for a phase 2A study. Can you update us on this and when we can expect the study to start?
What we have been doing is the procurement. We have went through several different proposals, and we are now down on choosing. And when we have done all the selection and everything, and we are further along, then we can also comment on the timings and so on. But of course, we want to start as soon as possible.
Okay. And can you share in broad terms the design of the study?
Yes, absolutely. So this is a placebo-controlled, double-blinded, multi-center study that we're planning to do in patients with early Alzheimer's disease. And we'll be looking at various type of endpoints. That includes obviously safety and tolerability, but also quantitative EEG that we saw, as Martin showed, really good results in the phase 1b trial earlier. So this is something we'll be looking at, and also as an exploratory endpoint, we'll be looking at cognition, although that's not the primary endpoint of the study, but that's also something we're going to look at.
So when you're looking at cognition, will that make the study longer, or do you expect a quite short study?
We're not expecting a kind of a very long study, so this is going to be a kind of mid-range in duration.
And then no interim readouts, I would expect?
No.
The Japanese pharma giant Eisai, as you mentioned, also develops a similar compound. How would you compare these?
Yes, yes, that's true. So Eisai has a compound known as E2511. So that's they are in the same stage as us. So they completed phase 1 studies. They are going for neurodegenerative diseases. But this compound, their compound only targets the NGF TrkA signaling pathway, while our compound actually targets also the TrkB BDNF signaling pathway, which we know plays a key role, and we've shown that, plays a key role in the cognitive enhancing effect and the antidepressant effects that we do see with our compound. So that's a clear differentiator. We also have much improved pharmacokinetic properties, allowing us for once daily dosing.
And if we move over to ACD680, which is your preventive treatment for Alzheimer's, the next step is a phase 1 study.
Yes.
You have mentioned that you could include Alzheimer's patients in this study to get any efficacy results. Can you elaborate on your phase 1 plans for this compound?
So we are working on the phase 1, and we have 2 different programs that we have been looking on. One traditional, where you only go in healthy volunteers, and then the second one where we also add in a patient cohort. And we think we favor to do also in patients, because if we then in this group can get data that we actually can compare with Roche, it puts us in a very good position with regard to out-licensing. So that's a key project for us, and our ambition when it comes to Alzstatin, we can say, is that we don't want to out-license Alzstatin. We want to drive it in-house, because we think the value creation that we could get there by driving it up to phase 1 and have that data would be huge, and especially if Roche, of course, has a positive readout.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of Roche, their candidate Nevigacetor, they are targeting individuals with mutations in presenilin 1, which is only a smaller portion of AD patients. Is this something you expect to do as well, or are you looking to launch Alzstatin broadly?
Yes, that's a really interesting study. So they're trying to look at a patient population which has this inherited form of Alzheimer's disease, and actually the mutation is sitting in the gamma secretase complex, what we're actually targeting with Alzstatin. And they're looking to look at the effects of prevention, as well as kind of clearance of existing plaques in these early stage individuals. So that's a really interesting population to look at, specifically prevention trials. It's something we know there's a great interest in these different, like the Banner Institute who's running these studies, and the Alzheimer Prevention Initiative, where you have these populations with inherited forms. They are 100% sure to get the disease. So there's a strong need for medications, and obviously our compound, a gamma secretase modulator, would be perfectly suitable for early treatment and actually as a preventive treatment, so avoiding to develop Alzheimer's completely. So this is a really interesting possibility. So we see this as a possibility in the long term, clearly.
And then we can say as well, what makes that study very interesting as well is that they have an arm where they also combine with an antibody.
Yes.
So it's also validating that concept. So going in and clearing out the brain, and then utilizing for maintenance treatment and so on, exactly as we have been speaking about. So we are very happy to see that they are doing that as well.
We had a BioArctic here just this morning, so maybe we can grab them in the room beside.
Yeah.
You received funding from the EYC, blended funding with an upfront grant and also possible equity investment. Could you share some insights on these possibilities of an equity investment?
Yes, we see an interest and we see activities, and then if it happens and when it happens, we need to see. That's the only thing we can see for the moment. But we see it as a very as a validation for the company. So we are very happy about that opportunity.
And in total, you can receive 10 million euro investment.
We haven't communicated on that, so we want to get back on that, but it's substantially more than what they are giving us as a grant.
And if we move over to your ACD440 program, which you now have placed to the orphan indication erythromelalgia, Your plan is to out-license the candidate.
Yes.
Could you share some updates on that process?
Yeah, so we are now in contact with various companies with regard to erythromelalgia and driving a process around that. At the same time, we also see still interest when it comes to, how should we say, peripheral neuropathic pain, and depending on region and so. Yeah, so we see opportunity. We are working both with regard to global out-licensing, but also potentially doing regional out-licensing.
Interesting. Time runs fast. Thank you for coming, Johan and Martin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.